Hello all and welcome to Tuesday Q&A with Roland, me. Hi, how are you? I'm the host, sitting here with my expert Ursinity. Ursinity, how are you, sir?
Good, relaxed, easy going.
Good, relaxed, easy going. I felt like
Combination.
I felt like you were always relaxed and very easy going. I mean, you know, listening to you play Dota and stream sometimes, it's really easy to forget that you're actually kind of enjoyable to be around.
Yeah, I mean, I get that all the time. But my one of my bosses was on vacation all last week, which meant I was doing a lot more work. And this week he's back, so my workload has significantly decreased. So I get to relax and have an easy time and regain my sanity.
Okay.
Slowly, but hopefully.
Let's go ahead and get this out of the way. What the hell do you do for work? I don't even know the answer to this. What do you do?
Really not? I feel like we've had this conversation.
I know you work for like a baseball card shop.
Yeah. So I
Right?
work for a sports memorabilia company.
Okay,
And it's a
close
small
enough.
business.
Close enough.
So
All right.
it is close, but we do a lot. We do a lot of football.
You
and
sell
hockey and
baseball
stuff
cards
like
though, right?
that. On a good day, yeah. But that's
Okay.
like the easy stuff. Baseball
Okay.
cards are dope because it's very easy. I do a lot of. It's a small business, so I do a bit of everything. It's just my two bosses and then me, and I'm like the computer savvy one, and I'm the one that like has a good grasp of the English language. So I do all like our postings, and I work with auction houses, and I do all the mail, and I do a lot of things. But it's for a sports memorabilia company, so like today I worked on a bunch of Detroit Tigers coach jerseys and equipment bags from the 90s and
What did you
stuff like
do?
that.
Like
Publications.
you worked on them like what? Like you stitched them?
Like no,
together?
you wouldn't do that. That would decrease value a lot. What I do is like I photograph and then I write up postings either for auction houses that we work with or for eBay, which is our primary way to sell things, and stuff like that. It's a
Okay.
bit of everything, but
right.
we do primarily online sales.
So I have a Babe
So-
Ruth bat that was broken because he hit the ball so hard. Hypothetically speaking, a bat that Babe Ruth used. What are you gonna do? You're gonna take pictures of it. What's gonna be the bio that you're gonna write there? Do you throw in like flashy words?
You gotta know like, yeah, like all right,
like
so
this incredible
within-
bat held by Babe Ruth himself. Like what do you say?
Well, with stuff like that, you want to. A lot of it is just research, which is where like my history background goes, and it's a lot of being like, okay, well, this is a Louisville Slugger, 1935, yada 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 specific, and then you like, well, with bats, what you do is you get the full measure, and then you weigh them, and then you'd say like, okay, well, there are on new bats, you'd say, oh, clear evidence of game use. There are rack marks evident. There are scuffs and scratches from bat boys, etc. There's cracking along the barrel from a hit, stuff like that.
How long have you
If
been a
had
bat
Babe Ruth
boy?
bat?
How long have you been a
you
bat
know.
boy?
I have never been a bat boy, although I've known multiple people that have been New York Yankee bat boys.
Wow. Have you applied?
No, God no.
Why
I don't
not?
actually like sports that much. Like I enjoy sports.
Uh-huh.
I enjoy sports and I like watching them, but I am not the type to actively follow anything, and so that's that.
Well, that's cool. Do you get a
It's
lot of
fun.
sales?
Yeah, I do well.
Do you
I'm
get
quite good
commission?
at my job. Huh?
Do you get commission? Like, what if you get like a crazy expensive thing and it's like you that sold it? Your bosses just get it all, or
So I used to work commission, but now, so I do a lot of different things. Sales is only part of it. So commission, it would not be efficient for me on like the grand thing. So I just make money per hour, and I have a salary, which is nice. I used to work commission where I'd get like paid per listing depending on the item, but it was much more inconsistent because some weeks like we just don't buy a collection, and then it's like I'm sitting with $35 publications all week, and that's like mind-bogglingly boring. But no, I just get salaried. It's an alright job, and like my hours are easy, and I can make my own schedule depending on like, because I've had this job for 5 years while being a full-time student. I've worked full-time at this employment.
did your dad get you a job there?
Yeah, actually, my dad used to work there, and he's good friends
Holy
with the two
shit,
guys.
dude! I called it. I'm so good
Yeah,
at
dude,
this.
nepotism.
Oh my god.
Yeah, my dad actually. Well, because my dad used to work there, like before he was a teacher and had other jobs.
Your dad's a
And,
teacher?
Well, he's retired now, but he was a special ed teacher.
My grandma was as well.
Yeah, it's a
She's
job.
been teaching me ASA, American Sign Language, or ASL. Sorry.
I was gonna say, yeah.
Like,
I have multiple friends that teach.
Do you want to play, Ursi? Do you want juice? Do you want juice?
Particularly. I'd like to answer questions. I think
apple
that sounds
juice,
like
Ursi. You want some apple juice? For those listening, that was probably not very fun. That's crazy.
No, it
dude.
wasn't.
I totally took just a wild. So 2 things I've gotten right about you and your family. One, I knew your grandma sang, and that was a guess.
I'm pretty sure I told you that.
No, you didn't tell me
Also,
that.
like old French people always do.
That was a guess. I was like, you always talked that your grandma lives with you guys, and I was like, I bet she sings, and I was like, right out of the blue, I was like, Ursi, will you get your grandma to sing for us? And you're like, she wouldn't do that, but she does have a beautiful singing voice. To which I was like, sweet. Secondly, people are typing at me. Stop it.
Sorry, that's me typing at you.
I have a very one-track mind. I just started looking at things, getting types, and was just... Anyway, the second thing I got right was your dad got you your job, because I know that he has an interest in fishing, which fishing is a close cousin to sports. Or is fishing a sport?
You've got some leaps there, but yeah, he did get me the interview.
So the interview, and how did that go?
I mean, obviously it went pretty well.
You got the job.
Like,
see, this is me trying to get back in the groove right now, because my groove was thrown off. It's kind of like a transmission. Now we've re-engaged and we're talking and we're moving. So you didn't ask me, but I'll go ahead and say my week has been great.
I'm glad.
I'm glad.
But now let's answer your question.
No. How have you been? For real though. Like, what's been going on? It's been a while since I've talked to you. It's been a while since it's been a week.
I'm good. I think questions are nice. They're my favorite thing to answer on.
We're going to get to it, but I do this every week. Also,
I know it's been like 10 minutes though.
That's okay. We usually do we usually do 20 minutes. Also, how did you feel Grouty did this Sunday? I had to abandon halfway through due to some car issues. But what happened there?
Grouty did fine. I mean, we always Grouty's like the heel. Like, we always give Grouty crap, but he's a competent player.
Okay, that's all I really have. Denny, if you can go ahead and load us in. We have a little questionnaire we're going to be doing. I guess Denny is going to be joining us. We're gonna get 5 gotcha questions probably. We have not seen them, Ursi or I. I think Denny has seen them, which gives him kind of an advantage. That gives you an advantage. You've seen these questions, haven't you?
Well, he's not answering the questions. He's
I'm not answering them.
Oh, you're giving them to us.
And I knew all the answers, obviously. So
okay.
How does this work? Like, I get one, Ursi gets one.
So Noisy Chode says that he's given me 5 short questions, and they all have a single right answer. The first to yell out the correct answer is supposed to get a point.
Okay.
And whoever wins, he says, can choose between either the eternal glory or a free cosmetic donated by him.
Of course, I want eternal glory. I don't want a cosmetic.
Yeah, I was gonna say I can get cosmetics with my own money.
Yeah, I want eternal glory for sure. I think that's obvious. All right, we have to shout this out. I feel like Ursi. Okay, I'm gonna try and shout this out first.
Yeah, I'm sure I'm the loud one of the two of us.
All right, go
What
ahead.
is the name of Visage's W spell?
Soul Assumption.
Soul Assumption. Oh, that was close.
Soul Consumption. Soul Consumption.
It's Soul Assumption. Yeah, Ursi's correct. Yeah.
You
were both correct.
I said it first.
Yep, you're both correct.
We're both correct.
But I said it first. I said Soul Assumption, and then he said Soul Assumption, and I was like Soul Consumption.
That's all right. I'm gonna give a point to each of you, and we're gonna keep pressing on.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
What is the name of Oracle's E spell?
Fate's Edict.
Oh my god. It's not Fate's Edict. That's his W.
E
is
Purify. Purifying Flames.
Yeah, that's right.
All right.
Yeah.
Yep. Point to Roland on that one.
I'm the Oracle player too.
Even though he cut you off, I feel like you were gonna get there, Ursi.
No, he was having to rack his brain. Yeah, he wasn't.
Those abilities are nonsense names.
What is the most expensive component of a Lotus Orb?
The plate mail, 1400.
Oh my god, you're killing me. gonna say perseverance, and I was like, oh.
Perseverance is what he put.
That's not a component though,
and he says.
Actually, that's right.
He says, even though perseverance is one item,
give him a point.
Even though
give him
it
a point.
is created by two others.
Give him a point. He's right. Because if you were to ask me what's the most expensive component of Bloodthorn, I would have said Orchid Malevolence. So, yeah. Give Ursi a point. Give Ursi a point.
All right, you're tied up 2-2.
Okay.
What is the single most expensive component in the game?
Sacred Relic.
No, Orchid Malevolence.
That's Ursi.
No, if we're going by the same rules, Orchid Malevolence is the most expensive component in the game, not Sacred Relic. If we're going by his rule set.
What is Orchid Malevolence? How much is Orchid Malevolence?
$43.75 or $44.75.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, Orchid is the most $40.75, so it's 275 gold more expensive.
Thank you.
All right. Well, Noisy Chode, you get to write in why you may or may not disagree with them.
No,
I'm gonna go.
He can't go.
Are you both agreed?
No, we stop here. Stop it.
Right.
If he gets Perseverance, I get Orchid Malevolence. Okay.
I agree. I
don't care what his rule set is.
All right, it's tied up 2-2, so this is going to be the one.
Okay.
Oh god, I thought there was 5 questions.
What non-ancient jungle creep has the most health?
The Purple Satyr.
He says the Purple Satyr, the Centaur, and the Troll Summoner all have 1100 HP.
Oh, really?
Okay,
but the Purple Satyr has the +8 regen per second.
We're not talking EHP. We're not talking EHP. We're talking HP.
Oh, we're not?
No. And yeah, it was Centaur, Dark Troll Summoner. Okay,
it's any dominated creep from an HOD. And then they get re-neutralized if they stay in the forest too long.
Okay.
We can't be tied.
I don't think this went.
I need Eternal Glory.
I mean, I think you're gonna. The Noisy Chode's gonna have to write back in.
No, you need to come up with a fifth.
Question.
You need to come up with a tiebreaker question, Denny.
One right. That you think we don't know. I need till the end of the show. We'll do it at the end of the show.
All right.
Okay.
All right,
well, then we'll go ahead and we'll take our first caller. Our first caller was once a pack animal, was then let go from his pack, and is now a direwolf. His MMR is 1800. A direwolf. What is your question, sir?
Hey guys, love the intro.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So my question is how you deal with lane dominators, and I'm coming from mainly a mid player perspective, so that kind of speaks to Ursi's expertise, and also from someone who hates playing Viper, and so that goes to your expertise, Roland, as a shameless Viper picker. Just how you deal with these people who bully you out of lane, who you have to watch deny your creeps, and you can't even walk up to them for fear of dying, and you can't get any support from any of your pub friends who won't rotate. So just generally how you deal with that situation.
Okay, Ursi, before you start, Ursi, real quick.
Okay.
So do you consider like Viper and Razor lane dominators, or does it go like way further out?
Okay, so the three that I was going to bring this up. Yeah, okay. So the three that come to mind as a mid player are Viper, Tinker, and Ursa. I always feel like I'm in this situation where like I'll pick a TA and then the next pick a Viper, or I'll have like my Ember Spirit and I'll pick an Ursa mid, and I just can't do anything. I'm just useless.
Okay.
I mean, can I give the quick answer, which is the best answer? And the answer that I most frequently go to is just yell at your supports and say, what are you doing? Why are you not in my lane? And that's how team practice works. It's basically like, hey man, they're down. Like normally it's when like they 2v1 me. That's when I just start complaining incessantly. But that's a good go-to, is just being like, hey dude, like you're playing freaking over Ogre Magi. You could be igniting my lane, but you're not. You're dicking around in bottom lane doing nothing. So that's one way to do it, and that's the not nice way to
you're
do
probably going to get reported. You're probably going to get people that are saying you should be ganking, because I mean, this is the reason we ask MMR at 1800. This is where I played a shit ton of games. If you ask for a support to rotate, they're going to be like, "You're the dumb one. You need to rotate to me."
Yeah.
So I feel for you. What heroes are you playing where Ursa and Tinker, or Ursa is a problem? Like where do you find Ursa?
I play a lot of Ember Spirit, and I just feel like I'm going to chain him. I'm going to hope he doesn't run up to me, and he's going to go first item phase boots, and he just runs me down. I just dies me, can't really do anything before I'm 6. Yeah.
I mean, that's why Ursa is like a terrible mid unless he's counterpicking you, and that's why that's the only time people pick Ursa mid is 2-lane dominate. I would say in general, though, like the serious answer, if you're trying to triage your way out of it, is just to if you can manipulate creep aggro and just get your creeps on your side by Like if you can get up and get their melee creeps to kill your range creep, and then they'll naturally push in, and then at least, presuming you have the mechanical ability to last hit under tower, at least you can get something from it. Of course, like if it's a Viper or sometimes OD, honestly, can lane dominate if he's just spamming with Astral after like level 3 or 5. That can be annoying if he just like stands on your high ground and makes it so you're really having a bad time. The other alternative, if your hero can do it, is just to jungle or to take stacks, but that's kind of much worse nowadays. That with the
it's harder
with the jungle camps.
Yeah.
Another nice thing nowadays, if you're getting like styled on, is just to use a shrine. Like that's a huge thing. If you're not necessarily getting aggressed upon or getting lane dominated, but if you like take a bad fight, let's say, and then Tinker gets a wave of rockets off you and a laser, and you're low, and you still want to participate in the lane, just go take a shrine, and that's that.
Yeah, my advice would be semi-similar as well. If like, especially in Ursa. So if we're to take Ember Spirit versus Ursa, and he's just running you down and killing you, I think the best advice is just don't go back. Or if you do go back, stand by your tower and just get levels, because by the time you hit level 6 as Ember Spirit, you can jungle. It's not going to be great, but at least you can throw a remnant down, TP home, heal back up, come back, do damage. At least you can get something. Opposed to just dying 4 times in lane or 5 times in lane and then losing mid hard. Like just give Ursa all of the farm. He's also an 1800 player, so even with a free lane, he's probably not going to get all the last hits. Somebody quantified that a kill in lane is roughly worth 2.5 creep waves. That depends completely on like net worth and everything.
That's a very dependent number.
Yeah, that totally depends. But if you look at it as though like every time you die, you're not only giving Ursa the free farm and the 2.5 creep waves, if we're going to call it that, it's better for you to just not be there. And if you are going to be there, just be under tower. Don't go anywhere. Buy yourself your own ward if you have to. 65 gold to save your life is totally worth it. And yeah, I don't know. The real thing is to just leave, use shrines, hopefully get a support to come. If you squeaky wheel your way long enough, I think you'll eventually get somebody to come there. Do you squeaky wheel, Dire Wolf?
I try my best. I think it's interesting. This really, your guys' comments really speaks to like the mental fortitude. That's like the difference between like my MMR and your guys' MMR, where like it's really hard for me to sit under tower and watch him deny my range creep over and over again and be like, oh god. Yeah, I can't go into that lane. I need to go into that lane. I can't not go back here. He's denying my range creep.
It's like panic. But at least you're there to get 50% of the experience from that range creep. At least you're there. I mean, even if he is denying every creep, at least you're getting 50% experience out of that wave, opposed to none because you're dead. So
yeah, I mean, at a very basic level, right? I mean, also you can bottle crow. That's another big one. Assuming you can get to the point of getting your bottle, which sometimes can be hard in certain matchups. But
yeah,
at the most fundamental level, and this applies to every lane, it's better to get something than nothing. And it's very easy. One of the things you see commonly at all MMRs really is if you tilt somebody in laning phase, they'll make dumb plays a lot of the time, and you need to be the person that prevents themselves from making the dumb plays. Like, for instance, if you're playing, like, let's say, an Ember Spirit Ursa matchup, the Ursa, let's say he gets low, but he'll still be able to kill you with, like, an Overpower and a couple of stacks of Fury Swipes. And the tilted play is to think, like, oh, man, he's been dominating my lane, I gotta kill him, he's low. And then you just die, and then you're just, like, you really lose your lane even farther. So you gotta kind of balance the greed to actually get stuff out of your lane that's being lost, or with the impulse to just like make YOLO plays and accidentally feed. Because one thing to lose a lane like mechanically speaking and just be on your back feet, and it's another lane to just feed your lane. Or it's another thing to just feed your lane.
And then you get people yelling at you like noob Ember, he's died 3 times, and then it makes you fume and feed and do worse. No, it happens,
just mute
dude.
Those people.
Well, but even hearing it once, you're gonna play a little bit worse. I know I do. When even when I play Viper and I lose mid, which does happen a lot lately, and I'm not even loving Viper. The second somebody's like, this Viper sucks, and I like hurry and mute them, it still sits there in my brain. I'm like, do I? Am I sucking?
Mid is also the
bad?
lane most conducive to just muting your entire team from the get-go.
Yeah.
I will just say, like, if you do have problems with getting tilted by teammates, that is a perfectly legitimate thing to do. Like, Personally, I use a 1 strike and you're out rule because I get tilted by teammates pretty easily.
0 strikes.
Then,
0 strikes, dude.
Yeah. 0 strikes is a very viable thing to do. Personally, I don't recommend it, but to each their own. And like I know plenty of people that's worked for. I used to do it myself.
Oh, that's funny. Great question, to be honest. This is a question that kind of has a different answer, probably. Depending on the matchup, depending on the MMR. Just be okay with being patient, I guess. I mean, and I'm mostly regurgitating what I've been told, because this is not coming from me being like, I stand under tower always when I'm losing mid. No, I run into lane too and feed. So definitely learn from my mistakes and just get what you can. Get level 6. Usually level 6 is what you're looking for on pretty much most mids. I guess Tinker would be a little bit different, but you do need levels on Tinker. And just live.
I mean, Tinker, you just stack jungle like crazy.
Yeah,
that's like one of the good examples of an exception. Is Tinker, if you're having a bad time, just instead of doing an aggro build with like 2 laser, 2 rocket, just get like 1 laser level 1, and then get like March at 2 and 4 or 2 and 3, and then just get your stack those 2 small or the 2 medium camps. It's a medium and a large next to you. That's an exception, right? Because most heroes can't do that.
Yeah,
but Tinker can pull it off.
Tinker can.
That's why we say like there's a lot of exceptions. You just got to push your limits regardless.
And just don't, if it's already bad, don't make it worse, I guess. Hey, Direwolf, thank you so much for calling in, sir.
Thanks, guys.
All right, Ursi, do you want to read? God, do you want to read some of these? I feel like this list just keeps getting longer and longer. Let's go ahead and read.
So many questions.
Let's read the one that says, "I love Roland." Let's do that one. That one seems good. It's at the very, very bottom.
Like that. Oh,
it's at the very bottom.
It doesn't start with that. That's a song.
Oh, okay. Well, let's go with that one.
I'll ask his question.
Okay.
Question. Also, he gave us a very full bio. Location undisclosed, job international man of mystery, MMR, 6K MMR, which is fair. All these MMR. Question. What do you prefer being called, like people using your real name or your in-game name? Was wondering that because Roland says Denny and Sam to refer to Cyphus and Ursi, but he was vocal in DotP Classics episodes that he didn't like when people use his real name.
Okay. So Sam's a good name. Denny, I don't know why Denny ever went with anything other than Denny. Denny's a good name. Denny rolls off the tongue nicely. Denny is just a good name. You can switch it to Dennis. It's like a Transformer name. But when we first started .p, I was big into anonymity, where I was like, yo, we just needed...
so much for that.
Yeah, it was like complete anonymity. And our first like 10 episodes, we were really bad at using each other's like Cyphus and Roland and Wazoo. And we'd refer to each other because that's how we knew each other as real names. And so I would go in and edit out every single one. And I had just this boilerplate Roland for every single person, or Wazoo, and I would put it in place. And eventually I just stopped caring, I guess would be the best way to put it. I don't care if people use my real name. I do call better to, I don't know, either or. It's just usually like, when I think of Josh, I think of like Audrey. God damn it, Josh! So, that's usually why I prefer Roland. It's kind of a fresh take on not getting talked down to.
I mean, my thing is both with people calling me either Sam or Ursi or any variety of other names that I've used through the years, it mostly is just when I interact with the people. So, like, I used to change my name all the time on Steam as just, like, for fun. So that's why a lot of people would call me Sam, right? Because if I'm changing my name 3 times a week, there's no, like, consistency. Or, for instance, I knew people when I played WoW that I changed my name multiple times. Like, in WoW, I was Ricky for a long time, like Ricky Maru from Dota, actually, was the name of my rogue. And then I went to Mango, and then after that, I switched to Ursinity once I started standardizing my names. But for a long time, I just switched constantly. So that's why people like Proud call me Sam. Also, like, I mean, I've known him for a long time. And then other people call me Ursi because that's just what I've used for the last, whatever it is, 2 years. So, I mean, I don't care. I answer to both. I answer to a lot of other names that I don't even use anymore. Yeah. Like Mango, that's a really common... Like, I switched away from that because that's super common. But I still, like, if somebody says that, I still turn my head.
Yeah. Hey, douchebag. Things like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Lots of things.
lots.
I don't care.
What is
you
this?
Can use either.
And I wrote a song for the occasion. It's called I Love Roland. I miss the old Roland, straight from the Jung Roland. 2K no boots NP Roland, set on his goals Roland. I hate the new Roland, the 3K Roland. That's always right Roland, never wrong Roland. I miss the casual Roland, happy-go-lucky Roland. I gotta say, at that time, I liked meeting Roland. That's all it was, Roland. We still love Roland, and I mean you like Roland loves Roland.
Man, that's Gucci for you. Artistic genius.
Gucci's... Is this the one that we've accidentally missed? It's because Denny has it on the third page.
No.
It's all Denny's fault.
We missed other ones from Gucci. Gucci's just he puts out too much good content.
Yeah.
It's like YouTube channels that put out too many good videos, and you're like, man, I only got 15 minutes, and they put out 3 videos today, so I got to pick and choose.
Yeah. 6K meme MMR will do that. You know, there's just too many good plays to catch every single one. You gotta, just jump in and hope you're right. Okay, Ursi, let's go ahead and take our first voicemail. This is a voicemail I have not listened to. I don't even know the quality of it, so let's hope good.
We'll find out.
Have you listened to it yet?
I have not.
Okay, I'm going to start it right now.
Hey guys, this is Vision. Just leaving a voicemail for the Tuesday Q&A. First of all, I gotta say, love the show. Started listening in September. I moved from Michigan to Arizona, and then found the podcast on my car ride, 3-day car ride. I listened to like 4 months worth of it on that car ride. I've been listening since. My question's about Lone Druid, and I know you guys see plenty of that since Proud plays every game. Just started playing it, after listening to Proud, and having a lot of fun with it. I like Micro Heroes, and it's not too hard to pick up. So I'm doing all right in the early game. Get like Windlace, Boots, and my Bear, or Venom. Then you get in that power peak most games when you hit like level 15. Feel pretty comfortable. Then when enemy cores start getting their items, their mobility and tank and damage items, a lot of times I just get overwhelmed. And just get hit and beat up, and I'm just kind of fragile once they're getting all their items. So, I mean, I routinely build a VKB and the, Dragonlance. General, though, I'm putting, like, damage items on besides those. And so I think part of it is just, getting better with the Bear and Savage Roar, and knowing when to pick him according to my teammates and my enemies. But yeah, definitely hitting between typically after level 15 or 18, once my enemies start catching up on items and stuff, that's where I get a hard time. So wondering if you have any advice on that. All right, guys, love the show. Talk to you later.
All right. I assume it finished on your thing too, right?
Sorry. Yeah, I'm awake.
Okay. So
No,
obviously the two of us.
That was a long one.
That was like last week. You jokingly made fun of that guy, and it sounded absolutely incredibly mean.
Oh.
Anyway, I'm glad that question was asked to this show because clearly the two of us are the most talented Lone Druid
players,
commentators. I will say, from the extensive time I've spent watching Pride play Lone Druid, and I've actually played a not insignificant amount of Lone Druid games, and I know you have too. The thing about it is you need to balance your Savage Roar as effectively a way to escape, because if you're building a bunch of tanky items, you're gonna have a terrible time. Like if you're, for instance, going Phase Boots, Dragonlance, BKB, you're not going to deal enough damage, even with your level, whatever it is, 15 talent. So you need to balance.
Isn't that like plus 50 damage?
Yeah, it's 50 now. It used to be 60.
Yeah, okay.
You need to be balancing both microing your Bear and making sure your hero is dealing damage but not taking a ton of damage, because nowadays you're playing the Lonely Druid, where you're far in range, and you're not having the tanky aspect of being the stationary melee druid. So that's a big part of it, honestly. Whenever I watch the difference between good Lone Druid players, I'll say, and bad Lone Druid players is almost entirely in their use of Savage Roar and their Bear Micro, of course. But even like basic Bear Micro is not hard to figure out. But getting used to Savage Roar as an option, both as a kill option and a safety option, is the really big deal. So I'll say make sure you're getting the optimal usage out of that. And I know, for instance, Proud, I would say, I don't know if he uses it necessarily more offensively, but all the time I see Proud use
he just uses it a lot.
As like a kill secure.
He uses it a lot. He uses it in cool ways.
Yeah.
So I compare it to like two heroes. So I compare, so first and foremost, Luna is one hero for the BKB question portion that sometimes you have to go Dragonlance BKB because you're just never going to do anything, and you just need to be able to survive and do some things in the fight so that you can eventually get your Manta. So that happens on Luna. Sometimes you have to go super early BKB and it sucks, but it is what it is, and you're doing it you're not doing it to win the game, you're doing it to get yourself to a state later in the game to win. So I would say that is not unlike Luna having to build BKB earlier. It sucks, but you'll eventually catch up, and you're still doing some damage. And then Savage... Kind of. I mean, Eclipse still does a lot of damage. Glaive's bouncing around.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's the
damage.
reason you built BKB early. It's because you're sieging and you have Eclipse and stuff.
Well, or you're just getting
sometimes
picked off or CC'd down, and you're just like, I need a BKB just so I can do it.
Yeah, the very fundamental rule of Dota, right, is that dead people don't deal damage, right? So if you need to build a BKB, you build a BKB, but you want to try to avoid it in lieu of getting like actual damage dealing items like Maelstrom Deso or Maelstrom or Dragonlance Maelstrom, stuff like that.
Yeah, and then the other parallel I see with Lone Druid, weirdly enough, is Slark with using Savage Roar offensively. Say you get a root with your bear, and then your bear Savage Roars. I didn't understand that for a while until I saw Proud maybe root an Invoker and then hurry and Savage Roar him. Why? Proud didn't have Dust, and he didn't want that Invoker to be able to hurry and queue up Ghost Walk and Ghost Walk away before he could kill him. So while he's rooted, he Savage Roars the Invoker, so he can't do anything. He couldn't Cold Snap, he can't cast any spells. He's stuck in place and he's scared. Where I find that similar to Slark is sometimes you'll initiate on somebody and you'll turn on Slark's ult. I always call it Dark Pact. Shadow Dance, I think is what it's called. You'll turn it on not because you're scared of dying, but because you're scared of getting hit by like a Sven stun or something like that. Like you'll jump on Sven and you'll see that he's going to throw a stun and you'll just hit your ult just so you can disappear. I see Proud use it in that way as well offensively, where he'll throw the bear in, Sven's about to stun, and he'll just roar the Sven out of there. And it's used defensively and offensively at the same time. The thing with Savage Roar is it shares a cooldown with your bear and Scylla, the guy. So you got to be careful on how you use it. Like most of the time I see people using it on their bear, and it's really good. Like because your bear just is usually the one that's in the fray, but sometimes you need to use it on Scylla. I don't know. You need to be careful.
Yeah.
And knowing that they share the cooldown. Yeah. But going BKB, it sucks. But if you're level 15, I mean, you're still going to be doing some damage. And yeah, dead heroes don't do damage. I like that a lot.
Yeah, I mean, LD is just a balancing act, right? Like there's a reason why the micro is not necessarily hard, but the hero is difficult, and it's just because you have to balance between dealing a lot of damage but being evasive. You have to be tanky while not really being tanky. You have to manage the bear at the same time. Yeah. There's a lot of little moving parts to
There's a lot of buttons.
The micro is theoretically easy.
Like blood loss, and then making sure your bear is poofing back to you, or Q, whatever that's called, recalling back to you. Making sure that you switch into your ult form to give the extra armor and a damage, and then switching back to your little form so you have like 2 seconds. I don't know a ton about them, but I think we all have experienced enough of the Lonely Druid, and hopefully that gets deleted soon. What do you, right? Like, aren't you sick of it? Aren't you sick of Lonely Druid?
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
I mean, I'm sick of Lone Druid in general. As much as I like playing with Proud when I win games because of it, man,
he's good at it.
I've seen enough
sure.
Lone Druid to last a couple of years.
The weird thing is I'm going to go on a little tangent here, is like all these heroes, I'm going to say like Lone Druid, Invoker, those are the two that really come to mind. For the longest time of me playing Dota, those heroes just sucked, especially Invoker.
Yeah.
And everybody was like, oh, it's such a shame, especially you, because you were like, I'm such a good Invoker player, but I never play Invoker because he's shit. And then Valve realizes this and decides to make them just way too fucking good. Luna as well. I didn't see much Luna. And then we just get sick of them, and then they just go back in the drawer for like another 2 years. Like, I wish we could find some balance there, so we could like keep Invoker in the game, so we could keep Luna in the game. Although Luna does just need to go for a while. Like, Luna, just get the fuck out of here.
Yeah,
go.
Please.
Just get out.
Please. God.
Yeah.
I was like hoping there'd be some lore event when the what was that event that just finished? Happened?
Dark
It was
Moon.
related to Luna's lore.
Dark Moon?
And I was like, oh boy, maybe they'll take Luna away. Dark Moon.
Mm-hmm.
But she still exists, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, what did they do? It's -6 base damage.
-6 base damage.
Which does
and then
suck.
They retooled some of her talents.
Man, whatever. She's still super good.
It sucks, but who cares? She's still so good.
Yeah, she is. It's Glaives. That's the issue. Glaives and Dragonlance. All right. Our next caller is Gabe Gonzo. His MMR is 2100. Mr. Gonzo, what is your question?
Hey guys, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Good.
Question. So, obviously you have all the learning tools. You have Dota Buff. You have Open Dota. But I was wondering if you guys at DotP were looking at doing any type of skill list or a checklist or a quiz that could kind of test a person's knowledge or habits to kind of let them know what kind of mental or knowledge MMR they might be, especially if they've calibrated at a low level. I've been playing for a bunch of years now, but just got serious over the last year or so. So I'm only at like 2.1, but I feel like I could be playing at a 3K level.
So that is the most like natural response from everyone is I am X, but I feel like I'm Y. And I felt the same way and I recalibrated. So I'm guessing that like you feel like your game knowledge is excellent. Like you know a ton about all the interactions, you know when to get back, you know when to aggress, you know how to play a bunch of heroes, you know how they work. That's where you're getting, but mechanically speaking, you're having a tough time going forward or doing this climb. Is that what you're getting at?
I mean, it's a little bit between mechanical and kind of just, you kind of second guess yourself on some games, especially if it's like a tough game, a tough loss or a really close loss. And you think, well, I could have done, you could do a couple things better if you go back and look at your games. But I'm just wondering, maybe, is it always that close all the time? Or is it just the roll of the dice with who your other 4 people are on solo queues? Or so I was kind of just wondering if, at least I feel like I would feel a little better if I had like a quiz or some kind of measurement to say, okay, hey, I've answered these questions. I know this information, or a checklist saying, hey, you know what? 2 through 2.5K guys usually do this.
For sure.
2.5 to 3 do this type of thing.
Well, the unfortunate thing is an IQ test, even if you're like a 170, it doesn't guarantee you a job that pays like 150K a year. So that's the shitty thing is like you could come out and it's like, yeah, dude, you have like 9K game knowledge, but at the end of the day, you're still 2K. But Ursi, sorry, go ahead.
No, that's fine. That was just an incredibly weird reference. The thing about it, I think it's a very common problem among like literally every MMR bracket. Like every 5K is like, oh well, it could be 6K, and every 4K is like, oh well, I could be 5K, and yada 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 downwards. But the big thing about it that's kind of easy to make a misassumption based on is that MMR is the compilation of a lot of different things, right? And there are obvious things that go into it, like mechanical skill and game knowledge, but MMR is comprised of so many different things, right? Everybody always uses the classic example like, oh, well, if Slacks is 5K, anybody could be 5K. But that's because Slacks is 5K because of not necessarily the mechanical or the strategic aspects of Dota, but because of all the other stuff, all the social aspects. So if you have that 3K game knowledge, but you're stuck at, let's say, 2,500, that's because you're lacking in other things, right? If you thought of it proportionally, let's say you have 3K game knowledge, but 2K mechanical knowledge, then you'll get stuck in that ballpark 2,500 range. So it is kind of the best way, and I mean, a quiz would be interesting. Actually, I don't know.
I think it's a good idea. It'd be fun to like.
It would be
able to quantify your knowledge on Dota because it is such a weird. Like you almost convinced me yesterday that any hero that has a mount does more damage in melee range than and I was like, really? And you're like, yeah, dude, go try it. And I was like, I'm going to. Like, it is that stupid complicated Dota that it would be cool to quantify knowledge. Mr. Gonzo, have you considered recalibrating? Trying to
but
cheat
I'm
method?
an old school gamer, so I kind of want to stay where I am and I'd rather fight my way through the honest way.
You want to earn it?
Reason.
You want to earn it instead of cheat?
I respect it.
Okay, so
God
if you
bless.
were proctoring an SAT, okay, you were proctoring an SAT, and I came in with a cheat sheet, would you allow me to use it?
I mean, it's a matter of different factors because you got to go maybe timings or something. There's a time test or
It's a time test, and I have a cheat sheet, and I'm like, Gabe, I know you're proctoring this, but will you let me in, man? Like, I didn't study. I was up late, but I was with Cammy, man. You know how it is.
Nah, probably not. No.
No.
Good.
Damn.
God, of course, the guy with morals is like, I'm gonna climb out of 2K. I'm not gonna recalibrate. God bless, dude. Yeah, I mean, there's just so many things that go into it, right? And you can get to that next break point with, let's say, just increasing your game knowledge a ton, and that kind of at a certain point, I don't know if I'd say it at a specific MMR bracket, but at a specific MMR bracket, everybody just should know all of the basic interactions once a patch is developed, right? Like you should know, oh, okay, well, Omni can't use repel on enemies anymore. Stuff like that is important to know. And then that's when you get to, like, you think more highly about the strategy. So I would say maybe, and this is not very exact whatsoever, but let's say at 4K, that's when you hit like the level where everybody knows all the basic interactions, but people don't yet know the strategic interactions. Like, okay, well, in previous patches, I'm playing Omni Knight. I want to stop this Pudge from denying himself, so I'm going to repel him. Stuff like that is where you get at a higher level. But if you have the game knowledge to just know all the basics, that's going to take you far. You just have to kind of get the mechanical knowledge to compensate for any weaknesses you may have in other areas, right? Or if you know, like, okay, well, I'm a really good strategic player, but not a good mechanical player, then you're going to want to play, like, let's say, ganking supports, or you're going to want to play offlaners that can initiate and stuff like that, because you're going to be able to abuse your breadth of knowledge in some areas and your weakness in knowledge, you'll be able to mitigate your weakness in knowledge in other areas. So you can definitely do that and play to your strengths. Like, if you're an amazing mechanical player, just play mid every game, or just play safe lane every game, just like perfect farming rotations and stuff. And that's, there are definitely valuable ways to assess your own knowledge and realize your weaknesses or your strengths, and then go forward with that.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome.
I agree. Mr. Gonzo, thank you so much for calling in. Really interesting question. I would like to know what my, because I'm definitely like 7K game knowledge. You know what I mean? I'm just stuck in a 3.5K.
Okay.
I'm just stuck in a 3.5K body. So that's interesting. Maybe we should do like a community test and see. Or maybe Denny the psychologist could create us like some sort of like game knowledge. Oh no, he's bad at the game. I forgot.
I mean, let me just to make my closing comment regarding like an actual quiz or an actual test is, and I think I brought this up either in the pre-show or in the beginning of the show, but the thing with testing in real life, like in public schools and private schools and stuff, is there's a big difference between useful knowledge and test knowledge. So for instance, if you're obviously I'm studying to be a history teacher. If I made a test and I asked for the exact dates of, certain battles in World War I, that would not be useful knowledge. That would just be rote memorization. Similarly in Dota, you memorizing, the exact amount of damage that X ability does is 365. That's a lot less useful than knowing, knowing the ballpark damage and also knowing the interactions, right? I think people can get too caught up in the minutia and hyper specific stuff that is useful to know in a general idea, but not super useful to know in a very hyper specific idea. So I feel like that tendency, like quizzing wise and testing wise, if we were to make, let's say, a Dota game knowledge quiz, it'd be too easy to make gotcha questions and be like, oh, well, what's the name of Enigma's third skill? What's the name of, yada,
I know
yada,
that.
yada. Well, I mean, I'm sure most of us know them, but it's not like useful knowledge. It's just like, okay,
Midnight Pulse,
memorization
by the
knowledge.
way. Midnight Pulse.
Sure.
All right. Well, hey, Gabe, thank you so much, sir.
Thanks, guys. Have a great night.
You too.
You too.
All right, Ursi, let's really, you don't, that's not gotcha questions. It's good to know what spells are called.
What? I mean, it is, but like, I mean, you play Dota with me, right? Like, I call AA, I'm just like, oh, the ice guy, like stuff like that. It's just like, I mean, you know what I'm talking about, right? Like, that's how language works. That's probably a bad example, but like, Orchid Malevolence.
Would that be a colloquialism?
No.
Oh.
It's not widely used.
Oh. Okay.
Like, a colloquialism would be like...
we weren't recording for that. Fuck. I mean, just made a call back to something we weren't recording for. Oh, man.
So a better example, I suppose. Hyper-specific knowledge would be knowing that Orchid costs 4,075 gold. That's not really useful knowledge. You just need to know, like, okay, well, it's 2 Oblivion Staves and a recipe that's 775. Similarly, you know, if you know or like hyper-specific knowledge, like, okay, well, MKB gives me 66 damage and a proc that does 75 damage or whatever it is on hit.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, no, you just need to know, like, okay, it has a proc that does, like, ballpark 100 damage, and it gives me like a good amount of damage and stuff like that. I don't know. Like, it's just stuff that's not super important. Like, you don't need to memorize the exact numbers on incapacitating bite for Broodmother. You just need to know what it does, and like, you know, more or less, it's going to do this.
10, 12, 14, 18.
Yeah, you looked that up, didn't you?
No, I didn't. Dude, my hands are right here. I'm live on air.
I'll take
I
your
didn't
word
look
for
that
it.
up.
I don't
know if I'm
that
right. I don't know if I'm
I put
right.
Slack's ass in a BTS quiz for pro players, and a bunch of the pro players didn't know it because they were like, yeah, I don't need this knowledge. Like, I just know what it does. I don't know the 10, 12, 14, 18.
Huh. Then I've been studying all
Like,
the
it gives
materials.
mischance.
Let's
Like,
go ahead and read a
people don't know
question.
that.
We need to get the road on the ball here, okay?
Okay, sorry.
Whichever one you
Let's
want to
see.
read, sir.
Yeah, we got quite a few. Soho Ski Racer. I was wondering what Roland and Ursi think of dual stack ranked and insta-grabbing 1 and 2 position. I pretty much insta-tilt when someone does this in solo queue, and he is in the 2k range.
Okay.
Roland, do you have an opinion on this? I do.
Just grab instant.
go
So
first.
instant. So if like Denny and I were to queue and I grabbed Luna and he grabbed Tinker or something like that,
Yeah,
instantly.
exactly.
I
think that's like BM.
I think it. So what's BM is. Yeah, I mean, so I think in a perfect world, everybody nominates for ban, and then you see where all the chips lie, right? Like you see, oh, 2 people are going mid. Okay, 2 people want to play Stark safe lane. 1 person wants to go off lane, and 1 person is willing to take the bullet and support. I'm usually the person that's accommodating. Like, I will play any position.
Yeah.
So I never go in and just insta-lock. I don't do this, but Denny and I have done this before, but we would insta-lock, like, I guess it would be a 4 and a 3 when we would do our offlane stuff, and we'd be like, but we'd first ask. We'd always ask. Even when we would do the support, the gank squad, we would be like, hey guys, we're going to be taking position 5 and 4. I mean, I think so long as you like make it public what you're doing, it's not bad mannered. Like if you have some perfect thing worked out where, I don't know, you have a Spectre safe lane and you have a Tinker mid, and you're just gonna, work together and bringing people down because you're both semi-global, then sure, but ask first to make sure that, like the reason he's getting tilted from this is because, well, he wants to play either position 1 or 2, and these people are just coming in, picking it, forcing him to play a support or off lane. I hate it too, but that's just how the game works, and you have to work around assholes. And so, yeah, I don't like it if they don't like declare, but if they declare first,
I will say I only get really tilted if it's a 3 stack and they take off lane, mid, and safe lane. That is incredibly tilting. That tilts me into oblivion. If it's a 2 stack and they take mid and safe, that's a lot less tilting, but I still think it's pretty like not well mannered. That being said, if you are for instance, me and Proud playing ranked, if we were in a duo stack and we realize, oh, this is a solo game for everybody else, we actually don't do this. I normally would just let him like play safe lane, and then I would just play a support. But strategically speaking, if we were different people in our position, it would benefit us best for us to instant lock mid and safe lane, and just be like, hey, we're both 5k, you guys are all 4200. like we're gonna win you the game, enjoy your plus 25. But that's not obviously well mannered. But I mean, winning is the most important thing about Dota, right? So if it's a 2-stack and they are down in party MMR when their solo MMR is higher, I can see the rationale that leads people to instant lock. I do think it's like kind of tilting, but at the same time,
what's
people do that in
tilting
solo queue
is
also.
anti-mage in insta-lock. Like the carries that are super countered, and really anti-mage is the only one that comes to mind, like right away, is I'm going to get safe lane, and I don't give a fuck about you guys, so I'm going to pick a hero that not only is probably going to be a bad safe lane because it's first picked. I mean, this knowledge trickles down to 0 MMR, that you pick a Legion Commander, you pick a Bloodseeker, and anti-mage, it just makes it so hard. And then your anti-mage dies and you lose, and it's just a terrible time. So yeah, I don't like that. And I hate the Slark pickers too. I hate the people that just play Slark every single game and put themselves as Slark and then whine. Also, alternatively, what sucks too is when people random and you're mid and they random Shadow Fiend and you already have Viper. And now it's like, okay, Viper, leave because I have 200 more gold than you. And it's like, fuck you. That happens sometimes. But
I'll say, this is my final comment on the question, is the most tilting thing, or rather, tilt never helps anybody. I think this is something that's hard to like really put into action for a lot of people, myself included, for a long time. Mm-hmm. But once you come to the realization that like nobody has ever won a game by tilting at the loading screen, like that is not productive, right? And you have to make the best of any situation, whether it's tilting or not. Like, take a deep breath and move on and play your support. Like, that's just the reality of the situation. And tilting then never helps anything. Like, there's no situation that's like, man, this was a great situation, then I tilted and it made it way better. Like, that does not happen ever. So, you know, you just got to manage your own ego if you're a mid player that gets mid stolen, or if you're unhappy that like some 2-stack took the core roles. Well, suck it up and play Dota.
Indeed. Okay, so no more email questions. We're going to get the rest of our live callers taken care of because we are trying to keep these at an hour and we're getting close. So our next question comes from as OG as they come, probably just as OG as you, Ursinity, maybe more OG.
I wouldn't say that, but it's close.
Sorry, dude. Maybe. I don't know. Like, I didn't mean to like pull a string there. Like, you're a show host.
No, I was mentally doing my math, and I was like, man,
not
know.
Exactly. It was May 21st. Anyway, it's Hatakamara. She is better than me in everything. Probably even Dota. She just hasn't really applied herself. If she did, she'd be way better than me. Definitely better than Ursi. And her MMR is 5k. And she still plays solo queue, which is better than Ursi as well. Hatakamara, how are you?
Hello, I am good. Don't worry, Ursi. I think you're still my senpai forever.
I appreciate that.
Okay, so my question is actually pertaining to that MMR thing. I want to improve as a Dota player, right? Yeah, I only have about 1, maybe 2 hours every work day to dedicate to Dota or having fun. Mm-hmm. And so
those are two very different things.
Yes, they're very different.
Yes.
You can choose one or the other. And so my question is, in your opinion, what is like the most efficient way to improve as a player? Is it playing the game, or is it researching, or like what proportion of the two would you guys suggest?
That's Ursi.
I'm not. That's a good question. That. I mean, I would.
I said I'm not going to touch that. I feel like you should answer that.
Oh, okay.
I'm not going to touch
that.
So
I would say by far the best way to play with time constraints is to do what you can in the meantime. If you have, like, let's say if you're at work and you can listen to podcasts depending on your employment, or if you're driving to school, listen to our show. That's our shameless self-plug. But I think in general, the best way to accelerate your growth, given that you don't have the time to just sit and play 6 hours of Dota, is to make those games really count. And sometimes, yeah, sure, you'll get screwed, and it's like, I sat down to play my 1 game of Dota and somebody fed from level 1. But in general, you just need to come to games with specific goals in mind. There's something I tell, like, virtually everybody I've ever coached, is you need to make a plan and then apply that plan. So let's say you're like, okay, I want to play Luna, but I've been having trouble last hitting, and then you can just spend your 2 hours or your 1 hour or whatever you have Dota time that day playing a single Luna game and just committing and be like, okay, I'm going to focus on a laning stage, and I'm going to get 55 last hits by 10 minutes because last time I only got 45 and that wasn't enough. Or I'm going to focus on my mid-game team fighting with Luna because I keep misusing Eclipse. Stuff like that is all about, or rather just Dota in general is all about setting specific goals because the game is too complicated. If you try to learn everything at once, you want to just say, okay, this game I'm going to learn X, and then you don't move on until you've firmly learned X, right? I think commonly people would be like, okay, I'm going to spend this game learning one thing, and then next game I'm going to queue up and I'm going to learn a completely different thing. Like, no, you got to learn one thing at a time. It's baby steps. So that's about that. And that's how I've learned Dota, honestly speaking. It takes a long time, but if you're just finding yourself just playing games for the sake of playing games, that's not productive. That's my professional opinion.
Yeah. So when would you play like a bot match versus a people?
Well, I mean, if you have like an indefinite time span, like obviously you don't want to abandon a game, so that's when I would play a bot game. The other time I would do it is if you have a very specific thing and you want to play, like for instance, Proud. A lot of the stuff that he does when we're like just talking or theory crafting or whatever is he'll just sit in a custom game and just I forget what the name of the custom game is, but he'll just do CS practice and just sit there. And he'll do like 20 waves of Luna practice, let's say, and that is a good way to spend 20 minutes or whatever for him or for anybody really. If you're having a very specific problem, there are certain custom games that can teach you, like, okay, if you're having CS problems, just play whatever that, I'm sure it's at the top of anything, you just look it up. You just play that mode and play it on whatever hero you need to, and you can play it under tower or whatever. And that's how you can accelerate your growth in specific areas. But yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. I'd also say that, Hadokmar, I know that, like, I think it's in your Twitter bio where you say, I love a certain flying frozen dragon, and I'm not going to tell you the game
girl.
Or something like that. Yeah, so I'll tell you that if you're only getting 2 hours a day, as much fun as you may have playing Wyvern, you probably would be better off playing a core. At this point, your mechanics are good. If you want to climb, like we're talking about, efficient ways to improve as a player. Okay, so MMR and being a better player aren't mutually exclusive. So I think Purge plays. That's what I did initially, and I felt like that was a huge way. If you can throw one on before you go to bed, or you can just listen to it, he has a way of breaking things down that are really good, especially for heroes that you're interested in. You play Wyvern, say you want to go to another support that is similar, and you want to improve your support play. Why not see something from Purge, who is a support player, break it down to like the lane, like the whole entire game. I watched every single hero from Purge in my first like month of playing Dota. So I felt like it helped a lot. Find something recent, watch it, listen to it, do whatever you can. And also, I guess this doesn't really apply to supporting, but practicing last hitting in like demo mode helps a lot as well as improving as a player mechanically. That's what I'd say. I don't know.
All right. Yeah. Well, I just remember like a long time ago, back when Panda was on that awesome team and played a lot of Mirana.
Yeah.
She would talk about how when she was on the time constraint, she would like play a game and then write on a notepad after the game what went wrong and what she could have improved. So like ever since then, I've kind of like looked at Dota differently because that reminds me of school, and I hadn't thought about it that way. So I was basically like asking you guys for study tips, which you guys have graciously provided me with.
Watch replays too.
That's also
yeah. Watching replays helped me so much. Because we talked about it on Proudland yesterday, but when you realize that you've just done something stupid, you think it's an isolated incident. You think, I don't do this all the time. This just happened to me this one time. But when you watch your own replay and you realize you're just time and time again doing things that you even know are bad, the next time you play, you'll break a few of those habits. And if you can break them all, eventually when you break them all, you never break them all. But if you can break some, it's a good way to improve, I'd say.
Yeah.
Hadakamara, I can't thank you enough for your community participation over the years. You're an awesome person. We love you to death here. Thanks so much.
Aw, thanks for the gush, Roland.
Of course.
I love you too.
If there's one thing you can count on Roland to do, it's gush.
Gush over the right people.
Right.
Gush over the right people. And
That's true,
Hadakamara
not
is a
me.
great person. All right. Thank you. And till next TI, I guess.
you.
Yeah,
See ya.
I'll see you later. Good question. I mean, I guess that is one thing that I get confused is that I think, I don't think Hadakamara cares so much about her MMR. I think she cares more about just being better. And when I think of being better, it's having a higher MMR. And yes, having a higher MMR would mean that you're probably better. But if you're playing one game a day, and say she even has a 70,
that's hard to climb.
If she has a 70% win rate and plays one game a day, we're talking a year from now, she will be 3K maybe. 365 games.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
A steady climb is better than no climb, though.
Yeah,
Say that.
indeed. Okay, our next caller is Professor Chaos, and he is a good K player. Professor Chaos, what is your question, sir?
What's up, guys? So for me, I feel like an item that I underutilize and that I see friends that I feel like overutilize is the Hand of Midas.
Mm-hmm.
So to you guys, what are the proper situations to invest in it? And if you need time constraints more specifically for like a position 3 through 5.
So I think you have to do a bit of accounting before you buy Midas on any time. I would say Midas is, almost never a one position item nowadays, but some people pull it off, of course. But in general, I would say it's always bad on 1. On 3 through 5, it's pretty hero specific nowadays, I think. So on 3s, for instance, I would buy it on a hero that needs items and needs XP, but doesn't need a single item right away. So a good example, for instance, would be Night Stalker Midas is fairly common, both as 4 Night Stalker and 3 Night Stalker, because he doesn't need any huge item in the early game like a Sand King does or like a Slardar does. Although Slardar Midas is not uncommon. The other thing you have to think about is this game going to go late, and is my presence super necessary in the mid game? So again, Slardar Midas as a good example is going to be super bad some games if you're going to get a 15-minute Midas, which is slow, and then you're going to not have your blink for another, X amount of time, and then your team has like a super greedy safe laner, let's say, or a greedy mid, then you lose a bunch of fights because you have a farming item, and your mid is trying to farm, and your safe lane is trying to farm, and then nobody can actually fight. So that's a very important bit of accounting to do, the math behind, basically. Mm-hmm. Also, XP is a huge deal.
And did you talk about attack speed with Midas?
I mean,
it's there.
It's not insignificant. You're right.
It's 35 attack speed. I mean, it's
Congrats.
So here's the thing with Midas is I get shit for it all the time. So when you're farming really well, that's when you don't want a Midas, even though you're thinking, God, a Midas would be awesome. I'm farming so well, I'm gonna get even more out of it. Although things have changed a little bit since 7.0 because experience has become king, or not king, but has become very important. Very much so important. So, I mean, is there ever a game of Invoker that you play that you don't rush Midas? I mean, you don't do that for gold.
You're right. I mean, there are people though that skip Midas on Quas X Invoker, for instance, because you just want to get a super fast Orchid. That used to be the thing. I haven't seen it recently. But
you're doing it for experience.
Wrong. I will say,
yeah.
There's a time and a place for Midas. That's all I'm saying. Here's the
time not to do it
too much.
When you're farming really well on Slark. You don't need get a Shadow Blade. That'll get you more gold than a Midas, I promise. If you get a Shadow Blade, or even if you go Echo Shadow Blade, I found that I've done this where I just accumulate this massive amount of gold, and I'm like, king of the world, I'm gonna get a Midas, and then all of a sudden I notice that I'm not able to participate in the fights that I normally would have been able to participate in, even if I had mediocre farm, not even good farm. So I find that I've seen a lot of players going back for Midas at 20 minutes as of late.
Yeah.
Because they're so far behind, they know I need a Midas. I see Warlocks. I see other Aghanims, sometimes like 4-position Maranas. where they get a Midas so that they can get to an Aghanims. They know that they will never get an Aghanim Scepter if they don't get the Midas first. The Midas allows them to scale with experience, and it allows them to get enough gold to eventually put together an Aghanim Scepter. So don't do it when you're ahead. Sometimes do it when you're behind, and always do it on Invoker.
Yeah, if you're
Right.
specifically, since you mentioned 3 through 5, if you're a support and you're ahead and you can get one quick as like just as a happenstance, that is something I do a lot. It's not necessarily always optimal, but I do it a lot. I'll say that. Like, it is a huge boon if it's like, boy, I just like won 2 team fights and I was the only one that lived, and I'm playing CM.
CM's a great
CM's
one.
a bad example because she wants Midas a lot, but
Yeah.
the like Rubik or Shadow Demon, I built like Midas on both those heroes a not zero amount of times just because it's like 12 minutes and I have mana boots and I'm like, boy, I just came across 2,000 gold and this game's clearly going to go late because both teams are oriented towards late game. Yeah, sure, I'm going to buy a Midas. Let's go. Like, have some fun. But like, you have to acknowledge what you're giving up when you're buying that Midas and think like, boy, this could have been a 4-staff or almost a Blink Dagger, and then weigh the pros and cons.
Indeed.
And make sure they're not a mid-game team comp.
Indeed. Professor Chaos, does that help a little bit to give you an idea of when and when not?
Oh yeah, I mean, me personally, like I've been playing a lot of off lane, so it's like a tough choice to decide. Like, all right, well, do I get an item to try to help us fight in the mid game, or do I get something and try to farm, even though I'm in a less than favorable matchup with their safe laner?
I mean, if you're doing well already, then you can swing it. But if you're not doing great, then your team's probably going to need you to have real items, not a item that just gives you more money.
Yeah. Although experience and attack speed. Professor Chaos, thank you so much for calling in.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. See you later.
Okay, just to keep the ball rolling on the road, our next caller is Mr. Mizu. His MMR doesn't matter because the question is super cool. What is your question? And hello.
Hey guys, just wondering how you got your names.
So Roland, is your story? I know your story, but it's pretty short, so you can say yours first.
Okay, it was about 5, maybe 6 years ago. No, it's a lot longer than that ago. StarCraft 2 comes out, and I'm horrible at naming things. And I'm sitting at the ID where you make your ID, and I have to make an ID. And I'm looking around the room for a name that I like, and I see, oh, I have an external hard drive. It says My Passport. No, that's not a good name. Focusrite Pro 40. No, that's Diet Coke. No. Oh, a Roland piano. And that's how I got my name.
Huh.
Yep. That's
No, it's not from the... I know that Roland is a big character in Stephen King's The Gunslinger, whatever. I haven't read the books. But everyone's always like, oh, Roland the Gunslinger, eh? And I'm like, yeah, great series. And they're like, yeah, I've read them all. And I'm like, me too. So I will lie that my name did come from a Stephen King series, but it didn't. It came from a Roland piano.
Yeah. So
and I had a Roland guitar.
My story...
Yeah, I had Roland drums. I had a bunch of Roland stuff. They make really good stuff, Roland. It's
so
weird.
my
It's weird to
story, I've gradually become more and more ashamed of as I've become an adult.
Yeah, you should be.
But
you should be.
Basically, what happened was I needed a name. I don't remember what social media it was. It might have been Twitter, and
Cyphers, get in here.
Was like I talked about earlier. Was I used to switch my name all the time, so I didn't have like a static name other than super generic things. Like I went by Mango for a while, and like that's literally the most generic like online name for anybody. So eventually I switched, and my best friend at the time, we were just trying to brainstorm things. And there's this running inside joke with me and my like high schooler idiot friends about how, God, there was a in high school.
Just make a lie. You should just lie about how your name came up.
But
I've
told this story before on like podcasts, and I don't want people to think I'm like lying about the past, like because then that's when you get caught in stuff. That's when it gets bad. But I already said I'm ashamed of the story, so it's okay.
Okay, go ahead.
But so there were a group of girls that had liked me at one point or another in high school, and we just jokingly called them the Bears. And then we were trying to brainstorm names because for me for the online, and of course, ironically, now my name means the opposite, like the way that it's built. But Ursinity meaning like a predilection towards bears, but the opposite, as in bears like me. And that was kind of the root of the name. It's just like a dumb inside joke that got ballooned into what it is now. And I'm just kind of stuck with it at a certain point. Like, I like Ursi. Ursi sounds good, but Ursinity's, it's fine. It's nice because I can get it on everything. Like, it's never taken. But it's really just a dumb inside joke between some of my real life friends that's like absolute like high school nonsense. So, you know, it is what it is.
Cool. Cyphus, are you in here? Okay, wait, that's just 10 seconds. By the way, Kuma is climbing MMR like crazy lately. I mean, every time he comes on the show, he's just getting higher and higher and higher and higher and higher and higher and higher. What's your MMR now, Kuma?
Okay, I'm here.
Okay. What's that?
I'll let Cyphus take over.
Yeah, what is your name? What is your stupid name about? Because I call you Denny anyway. So where did Cypress Hill come from? Was it Cypress Hill?
Cyphus was I think I've told the story before. I played in a D20 Star Wars campaign years and years and years and years ago, and Cyphus was the name of the Jedi character that I built, or maybe it was an NPC for a campaign I was running. It's been a long time, but that was the primary. Like, I just went with that because it was kind of sci-fi-esque. And I always thought it was better than the name that I usually use. It's actually rare that Cyphus was the screen name that I used. I used to primarily use Malhavoc Darken as my name.
Oh, that dude! Why didn't you use that? I'm Roland, sitting here with my co-host Mal. What is it?
Malhavoc Darken.
Malhavoc. I'm here with my co-host Malhavoc. Malhavoc, how are you?
Yeah.
Dude, you went with Cyphus. That's why I call you Denny. Cypress Hill.
Malhavoc Darken. That's like the name I expect to hear on like an episode of Dr. Phil, where like some mom brings in her son, and she's like, "My son's like been playing D&D with his friends for years, and now he asked me to call him Malhavoc instead of Tommy." Like that's what I think of.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Kuma, where did your name come from?
Name, though.
Where's your name? I'm actually curious.
Well, similar to Ursi, when I first sent in a question and he commented on my name, I watched anime for a long time and still do, but I knew what Kuma meant because I heard it referenced a whole bunch.
What does it mean?
But I was just looking. Oh, it just bear. So
really?
That's been, yeah. So pretty cool that it's like, oh man, every other person has a bear name in this Discord and community.
Yeah, it's convenient.
Yeah, and it's the same with Proud Bear Clan Chieftain.
Yeah.
But yeah. So Mizu means water or river. And I just thought it sounded nice together. So also water bears are super cool extremophiles, like tiny little microscopic organisms called tardigrades, but they look like tiny little bears, and they can exist in super extreme environments as well as space for like a long period of time.
Whoa.
Yeah, I've heard of those actually before.
So you're a biologist?
I'm always glad.
Are you a biologist, Kuma?
Oh no. Still in high school. But no.
Usually,
I'm always glad when like my very rudimentary knowledge of random other languages comes in handy, and I can translate something. And I was like, boy, Kuma Mizu, or somebody else said it because he had sent in like a question or something to some other show, and I was like, dude, I know what that means. And I was so proud of myself.
Yeah, because it was Flub who read it at the time. And he's like, Kuma, I think it was Roland who said, Kuma Chameleon. We're like, no, it's not.
No.
But then, like,
Kuma, Chameleon.
Yeah, exactly. And then Ursi immediately is like, oh yeah, by the way, that means bear water. Anyway, and then answered it. And I was just completely just baffled about how quick that was.
You're in high school?
It's very rare that it comes in handy, but it does every once in a while.
You're like the coolest kid in high school, huh? What grade?
I'm a junior currently, yeah.
No way.
Thanks, Roland.
You sound like old. You sound older than me. Were you held back?
Nope.
Wow. Okay.
I'm trying to do voice stuff right now, so really appreciate that. Thanks.
You're like coolest kid at school, in my opinion, hands down. If you want like a letter to be sent in to your SBOs or whatever, for that to be in this yearbook, I'm more than happy to do that for you.
Yeah, we'll give you references.
Guy who talks about video games thinks Kuma Mizu is the coolest guy at school. That'll go a long way. It'll go a long way. Kuma, thank you so much. Always interesting questions. God damn it, you're gonna grow up and be a scientist, aren't you?
Oh, we'll see. Voice actor, maybe. We'll see.
Both.
Some combination of the two.
Both.
That would
Or I'll
be
be
cool.
disappointed in you. Just like,
Or narrating like nature films or something. That'd be fun.
hey, can we get like a, and the praying mantis takes a stab at its prey. Can we get like a calm, like, can we get an idea of where you're going with this?
Feels like we're listening to Zai's stream.
Oh God.
Okay, I'm putting you on the spot. Here we
The
go.
praying mantis takes a stab at its prey.
But suddenly, the hummingbird.
Jeez, that was like the most generic thing.
I
that you
couldn't
could, like,
think of anything else. All right, well,
That-
maybe we'll do that one day. Kuma, thank you so much for calling in.
Yeah, thanks, guys. See ya.
See ya.
Bye.
Okay, Ursi, let's go ahead and close the show, sir.
Let's. Oh, are you asking me to
Let's
do the
go
plugs
ahead
this
and
time?
close the show,
I'll
sir.
do the plugs.
You also need to give away the Steam gift card.
Can't we?
And,
Do we have to
I
do
mean-
that on air?
Yeah, absolutely. We have to do that on there.
Okay, roll a d6 and exclude a number.
Exclude. Wait, who am I? Oh, Professor Chaos because he won last week. Right.
No, we didn't have 6
Oh,
callers.
then I can.
We didn't have 6 callers, and you don't exclude.
Oh yeah.
Gosh,
You're right. Hold on. I'm
incompetence.
getting my D4 out. All right.
Incompetence.
Can you hear it rolling?
Gotta be fancy and use the D4, not the D6.
Whoa.
No, that's not fancy. That's just called not being a poser. Okay.
Yeah.
I used the D4 last week.
It's a 1. It's Direwolf.
That
We'll
felt
maybe
super
work on
shady,
this back.
but okay. I guess a direwolf won because we heard dice in the background. Like, all right,
Rifus,
we're gonna go
I
ahead and
rolled it,
believe that.
Here's the deal. I rolled it and as I picked it up.
We
let's see
heard
what
the
it was I
dice,
dropped.
so it
you don't really
definitely
roll a
someone
D4
won.
either.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They
you
just
do.
fall. It just falls.
Not my gold D4. It bounces.
Yeah, your rigged dice.
They're not fake. Okay, they're gold plated. All
I
right.
didn't say fake. I said rigged.
Also, I have a tiebreaker question if you want it.
Oh
Okay,
yeah.
good.
Yes. Eternal glory. Please.
All right. It's super. I hope it's. I prepared several in case you can both get them.
Okay.
Which hero starts with the highest base strength?
DK.
Spearbreaker.
What did you say, Roland?
It's DK. Dragon Knight.
No, Thursday wins. It's Spirit Breaker.
Fuck
Nice.
you, Ursi. You don't.
see
29 strength. 29 strength.
Oh, I don't know. I just yelled out a strength hero. I didn't know the answer to that.
Roland, here's a. Actually, I'm not going to give you the tiebreaker question. What is Spearbreaker's real name, Roland?
Bara.
No.
Bara.
It's shortened to Bara.
Baraphos.
No. Okay, never mind.
Bara-
Even if I gave you the chance.
Barasatros.
Barathrum.
Barathrum. Oh, is that a World of Warcraft thing?
No, I don't think so. Maybe. I don't know. I just know his name is Barathrum in Dota 1. Because in
Anything
Dota
that-
1, everybody had a name and a title.
Huh.
That was like Lena Inverse the Slayer.
Cool. All right, let's go ahead and close the show. Ursi, let's do this.
Yes, plugs. So we stream this live on Mondays at 9 p.m. Eastern on twitch.tv/.ptv. That's where we stream random games as well as our Sunday team stream practice, which is all the show hosts, and of course Grouty, who runs the in-houses that are also Wednesdays at 9 Eastern. We have a YouTube channel, .ptv1. That is where we post all our shows, if you prefer to listen there. All our replay reviews, which I'm currently getting out, 1 a day. And we've got probably 10 more days of those because we've got quite a few of those. And other things. You can donate to our Patreon, patreon.com/.ptv. Or no, Defense of the Patients. We've been doing very well there
Second
recently.
episode
We're very
comes out
thankful.
tomorrow, by the way.
Yes.
First episode is already out for Patreon exclusives. We've been seeing a slew of dollar donations, which is so awesome. By the way, like that is a huge help. By the way, just wanted to say thank you to everybody who's donating. But if you just want to pay $1 and get, two episodes a month that are ad free, that's awesome.
Yes,
That's all I have to
they're good
say.
epids too.
Yeah, they're
I've
fun.
gotten a
It was
lot
really
of
fun.
positive response to the first one, and I'm sure the second one will be just as good, if not better. Maybe not better. That's a high bar to set. But that'll be out Wednesday afternoon, probably.
Yeah, tomorrow afternoon. Wednesday afternoon.
Um,
Yeah, because this comes out
we
on
have-
Tuesday.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Correct. We have Twitter. I'm at Ursinity. Our show is at .p_show. Our Discord is the place to be if you are a .p listener, .p fan, .p aficionado, .p anything really. and that is discord.gg/.p. We also have a Reddit, and that is r/Defense of the Patients. And of course, if you want to support us, you can send us iTunes reviews. Those help us tremendously on the charts and on the everything else. So that's about that. You can email us questions for the show, defensepatients@gmail.com. You can also give us voicemail questions, which preferably take a minute, give or take. You can send those to the number that Roland has memorized that I don't. Roland?
What? Sorry?
The number for the phone thing?
1-888-410-7150.
Yes. And so you can send those there.
Sorry, I was totally zoning. I was staring at the screen just
That's all right. And that's about that. So thanks for listening and all that. Goodbye.
No, it's you have questions and we have answers.